welcome to the stage, Neshama Franklin, everyone! Yay!
I'm sure. Okay. I was in exile in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, from New York City. It was my first year of college. I was a bad girl. And I am not good with numbers. I've never been good with math. But I had a major that nobody knew about, and that was Russ Miller. He was a mathematics teacher. And I got to know him, not through classes, but we rode back and forth on the Greyhound from Wilkes-Barre to New York City on holidays. And he was also in exile from New York City. He must have done something very bad as well. He was very smart. So why did I fall for Russ Miller? This is what he looked like. He had russet hair across his low, I have to say, it's low forehead. He had penetrating eyes. He had a kind of a sharp, tip-tilted nose, but it was the lips. They were very full, and they were turned down in that kind of sensual smirk. And he had a boxer's body, but there was a kind of a layer of subcutaneous fat. Very, like a baby doll I used to have. It felt wonderful. And I'll tell you how I discovered that. But in any case, he was a teacher and I was a student, and all I could do was moon under his window at night. We all knew where everybody lived. And, I would look at his silhouette on the shade. He would get undressed, I presume, and I would stand there, and, until the lights went out, and then I went home and went to sleep with my roommate Sylvia Gutfleisch, the other Jew, who was engaged to be married. And so I didn't last at Wilkes College. I got kicked out for a full frontal embrace in the common room. I had to do something with that pent-up lust. And I got a job at Columbia University and in the registrar's office. And Russ had said he had some connection with Columbia. And I looked him up in the records, and I couldn't find him. But guess what? There he was in the halls of Columbia University, and I was no longer a student and he was no longer a teacher. And he looked at me and he cocked his head with that hair flopping, and he said, "You wanna?" And I said, "Yeah." So we went to the West End Bar and Grill and we had a beer. And then he said, "You wanna?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." So he took me to the Hotel Dixie on 42nd Street. How did he know of such a thing? Well, it was, I'm sure, by the hour, and our room had 3 double beds with kind of metallic spreads on them, and we didn't take the spreads off. But on each of those beds, we did some very interesting things. Some of which were very exciting, and some of which were a little peculiar. And in any case, we had done everything I had ever imagined. And then he put me in a taxi, and home I went. And I kind of thought that was it, except on the subway train. When it went like this, I went like this. I couldn't believe it. And there was another little piece of this delayed gratification. You have to know that for all my acting out, I was still a technical virgin, but not anymore. And I got knocked up. One hit knock up. So what did I do? I kind of prowled the streets singing gloomy folk songs for a while. And then I had to tell my parents, and then my parents arranged for a legal abortion in Cuba. And we flew down to Havana, and I had the procedure. And they were very kind to me, and I tasted café con leche. It was delicious. But, it was much more profound than I realized. I spent time, we had moved then to the Havana Hilton, which was more their speed. And everyone else was lying in the sun like this, and I was weeping in the room for 24 hours. I don't even know what I was weeping for. But then my parents put me on the plane. It was New Year's Eve to go home, and they were going to stay on for vacation. And guess what happened? It was 1958. Fidel Castro came, and they couldn't get out of there for 4 days. They ran out of toilet paper. But this is the most important thing about this story, is that I had made a connection with a very interesting man, and I got a little sidetracked with the appearance of Russ Miller. But that very interesting man was sitting in the booth behind us. I couldn't see him at the West End Bar and Grill. He knew everything that had happened. And when I came down the flight of stairs from the plane, there was John waiting for me. 35 years of marriage later. Thank you.